Alright, in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to make a basic hilly landscape. To get started, we're going to want to go to Modes, going to want to click on Landscape. Next up, you're going to want to come over to the left side of your screen in this menu. You're going to want to click Fill World. I'll make sure it goes as far as you can see, then click Create. Alright. Now to get started, you have a set of tools up here at the top. These are your landscaping tools. To get started, the first tool, our Sculpt tool. You can adjust the strength, radius, and fallout of all of these tools. I'm going to quickly adjust mine some so that way you can see it better. Now the Sculpt tool will actually give you the hills and things that you're going to want to be making. Then, next up, your Smooth tool will begin to kind of smooth things down. This will be useful for adjusting how rough your terrain is. Next up is the Flatten tool. This one's pretty straightforward. You click where you want everything to be flattened to that level, and you just go around and it flattens everything down to that level. Tool is the Erosion tool. This tool, let me quickly create some more land to work with. This tool is used to basically erode a terrain, make it very rough, and this is where we'll probably be using our alpha brush. You can set it to a certain texture, or you can just leave it in the base texture like I usually do. This will allow you to create a pretty rough terrain. Next tool is the Hydro Erosion tool. It allows you to kind of make a smoother terrain change. However, it's in my opinion, it is best used in combination with the Erosion tool to smooth down all of your erosions. And that is it for the different tools we will be using. Next up, I'm going to show you how to actually design your hilly landscape. So this is very much a up to you kind of thing. However, I will be kind of showing about how you want to do it. So to get started, use your Sculpt tool. Make a pretty decently varied mountain area. You can make kind of this circle-like, almost a full circle. You can go with a couple of different hills, just kind of scattered about. There's a few other ways you can do it. I will be using this kind of circle look. Next up, you probably want to go to your Erosion tool and really crank down that strength. I usually put it at about 0.05. There we go, that's close enough. And really also cranking down that radius to something pretty small. You see that 200 is a little too big, so 250, so I'll crank it to, that's a bit too small. I'll move it to 150. That's a good size. And really what you want to do is you just want to kind of go around and rough it up. If you think that it's just still a bit too strong for us, you can turn it down some. Put it at 0.045. And that will allow me to get this kind of rough but not misshapen terrain. And really, you just kind of want to throw it around everywhere. If you want to do specific things, you can. However, to generate the most randomness, you just have to be random in your movements. Once you think you've done pretty good on that, I'm going to crank up my radius just a tad, maybe make some slightly bigger changes. After that, you can move on to your Hydro Erosion tool, and this one you want to keep in the circle. That way you can kind of smooth down all those changes you made. They'll still be there, but they'll be a bit softer, easier to look at, fit better. And you want to keep doing this for quite a bit of time until you think it's just perfect. Something else that you might want to consider, as you can see I have this very big dip here. You can kind of raise that up. If I increase my radius to something decently big, I can just kind of slowly raise it to maybe about there-ish. Or say if I didn't want this little section in particular, I can take my smooth tool and I can just kind of slowly move it down some. You want to try and keep this slow, that way you can put it right where you want it. However, if you can move maybe a little faster than I am, there we go. So that's good. Then of course you want to go back over it with your erosion tools. That was maybe a little too much. Just hit Control Z, that's fine. Adjust your radius, and then go back at it. Really just kind of make sure you kind of roughen it up some. Take your Hydro tool, and just kind of ease it back down just a little bit. So of course you'll probably be tinkering with this for a while. I can show you a completed one that I did a little while ago. Save selected, save. Sure. As you can see, I've implemented a lot of the things I've talked about. You know, I kind of have this rough but smooth look to it. A lot of variation in my hills. They all look different. They have a very unique pattern to them. And if I quickly hit my play button, you can also see that if I move down here, they are also all pretty big. I mean, your character would probably be maybe this tall. Those are some pretty big mountains. And they can be big, they can be small. And you can also apply, you know, the technique that I use into some different things. Like, I also have this crater here that I worked on. As you can see, I use the same tools I did for the hilly landscape. Same basic idea on how to do it. I just created a different shape with it. And I think that this turned out really, really well. Because it is, I mean, it's also pretty big. And you might think, I don't know how to make this really big stuff, you know, it looks really complicated. It's just like some of the smaller stuff. You just scale up your tools to get the big stuff down, and you can shrink your tools to get a few more fine details in, like say this patch over here, or maybe something within this crater here. So that concludes the tutorial on how to make this basic hilly landscape. I hope you've enjoyed.